Hello, it's Phil here from Tim and Phil Talk About Games, and welcome to another TAPTAG review. This time we'll be having a look at a relatively new entry in a relatively new game genre. It's all about twitch reflexes, inventive demonic enemies, and randomized dungeons in the roguelike FPS Paranautical Activity. Paranautical Activity comes to us from Code Avarice, a team of what I believe is two guys, Mike and Travis. It is still technically in early access, but the developers do state on the Steam store page that the game is in extremely functional beta form. So I felt like a review of the basic gameplay was possible, even if some of the nuances of the game in its eventual final form may not quite be there yet. The gameplay itself is very frenetic, with the player starting off in a randomly generated dungeon floor where entry into each room spawns mobs for the players to dodge and frag. The player's primary weapon and special weapon will differ depending on which character they've chosen at the start of the game. My personal favourite was the boomerang sickle, but there's grenade launchers, shotguns, rifles, etc. So most styles of FPS play will be catered for, and it can be fun to try out some of the other weapons. Players will also be able to obtain power-ups as they go through the levels, whether or not it's from defeating larger bosses and sub-bosses, or just buying them from the gift shop that's available, randomly generated room that comes up every now and again. These will really change the way that you move through the rooms, so give you more life at the expense of speed, or give you more damage, or do all kinds of crazy stuff. There's even some stuff that really changes the way you interact with the levels, like being able to walk on the ceiling and that kind of thing. So the random generation thing is present even in the items that you're picking up. The enemies themselves are highly varied, with Doom-inspired demons, Jawa-like magicians, ground sharks, rocket-launching turtles, jellyfish, ninjas, giant skulls, and more. Each have their own attack patterns, but the end result is the same in that you're really going to have to be very aware of each and every incoming energy bullet, katana swing, or shark bite to get very far. The lack of a clear motif for the enemy types is a little distracting, as is the absence of much in the way of environmental flair. I think the most I saw during all my exploration was a chandelier and maybe some explosive barrels. Similarly, each room is pretty much the same, with the exception of some stairs or platforms, so it's not going to win any awards for pushing the envelope of random generation. Still, within the broader scope of where this genre is at the moment, having a box to contain your monsters is really all that's required. And I guess that's the takeaway from the game. It's continuing in a line of playable, yet relatively shallow FPS roguelike games. It's certainly fun to sit down and plug into the techno beats, which, actually I should mention, are completely incongruent and somewhat jarring at times, especially when you've killed all the enemies and are just walking to the exit and these tunes are still banging hard in your ear like a tweaker going out in a nightclub at 2 AM. Perhaps a fade out to something a little less, hardcore during the times when you're not actually shooting things. Anyway, for the price of admission, you could do a lot worse, and if you're after a game to test your twitch reflexes, it's got you covered in spades. But I'm still waiting for that killer example of the FPS roguelike that really takes the concept and runs with it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.